Like all nations, Kenya has been founded on the efforts of many people, institutions, corporations, professions and organizations. One of the foundations upon which the nation has been built is Athletics Kenya, formerly known as Kenya Amateur Athletics Association, the organization responsible for Kenya's outstanding performance in international athletics since the country's independence in 1963. Behind the spectacular victories of such great names as Nyantika Mayoro, Kipchoge Keino, Henry Rono, Ben Jipcho, Tekla Lorupe, and David Rudisha has been a team of coaches and officials who have worked tirelessly to ensure that Kenya remains at the top of the ladder in many athletics events. Today, Athletics Kenya is ranked second only to its US counterpart as the best organized and successful national athletics organization in the world. National Organization of Athletics in Kenya started in 1950 when a number of British white settlers set up the Kenya Amateur Athletics Association. The KAAA was the brainchild of Archie Evans, Kenya's first government sports officer and former principal of Jean's School Kabete, which would later be turned into what is today Kenya Institute of Administration. He would be joined by businessman Derek Erskine, who took over as chairman of the Kenya Amateur Athletics Association. In 1951, KAAA became affiliated to the International Amateur Athletic Federation, IAAF, and would the following year organize the first East African Territorial Athletics Championships in Nairobi, bringing together athletes from Kenya, Uganda and Tanganyika. That year too, KAAA would also send its first team of athletes outside East Africa to take part in the Indian Ocean Games in Madagascar. For quite some time, the annual championships would be the main activity of KAAA and would eventually attract other nations in the East African region: Ethiopia, Somalia, Malawi, and Zambia. Under Archie Evans, KAAA developed a pyramid of athletics competitions in Kenya based on location, divisional, district, provincial, and national events. It was through this system of competitions that famous athletes such as Nyantika Mayoro, Musembi Mbavi, and Sila Kibet Boit were discovered. Mayoro featured in the British Empire and Commonwealth Games held in Vancouver, Canada in 1954, where Kenya was represented by a small team of 9 athletes. Running barefoot, he came fourth in the 3 miles race against a field of famous long-distance runners from Britain. Though no Kenyan won a medal at the Games, it was the start of the rising of Kenya's athletic stars. In 1958, at the British Empire and Commonwealth Games held in Cardiff, Wales, Kenyan athletes would win their first medals in competitions outside East Africa, when Bartonjo Rotich won a bronze in the 440 yards race, whilst Arere Onentia added another bronze in the 6-mile race.
I was excited because to shake hands of the Queen, I did not know the implication, but I saw a lady, Queen Elizabeth, not shaking hands without gloves. Gloves, yes, that. And when I got excited because when I came back, I found my school fees has been paid. I don't know who. But because of performance, everybody was excited.
In 1956, KAAA felt sufficiently confident about its athletes to enter that year's Olympic Games in Melbourne, Australia, and again in Rome in 1960. Though no Kenyan won any medals in these games, the country's participation gave KAAA and its athletes confidence at international competitions, and it did not take long before Kenyan athletes started winning medals. In 1962, at the British Empire and Commonwealth Games in Perth, Australia, Serafino Antau won 2 gold medals, one in the 100-yard and the other in the 220 yards race. His countryman, Kimaru Songok, won a silver in the 440 yards race. With the coming of independence in 1963, more Africans took over the management of most national activities, including sports. In 1964, Musembi Mbavi succeeded Derek Erskine as KAAA president, and Aish Janebi became the association's secretary general. But even as the British founders of KAAA gave way to Africans, the organization would benefit from the appointment in 1964 of John Velzian as athletics head coach. Velzian was the coach of the Kenya team that took part in the Olympic Games held in Tokyo in 1964. It was in Tokyo that Kenya won its first Olympic medal, a bronze by Wilson Kiprugut in the 800 meters men's race. Among the athletes that KAAA sent to Tokyo was Kipchoge Keino. Keino did not get a medal then, but at the first All-Africa Games in Brazzaville, Congo, held the following year, he won 2 gold medals in the 1500 meters and the 5000 meters. That year too, Keino broke 2 world records, one in the 3000 meters in Helsinki and another in the 5000 meters race in Auckland, New Zealand. Together with his other colleagues, Naftali Temu, Wilson Kiprugut and Kimaru Songok, Keino helped Kenya top the medals table in Brazzaville with 5 golds, 7 silvers and 2 bronzes. Kiprugut, Keino and Temu would shine again the following year at the Commonwealth Games in Kingston, Jamaica, where they won gold medals in the men's 1 mile, 3 miles and 6 miles events respectively. In 1967, at the World Games in Helsinki, Finland, Temu would be voted the best athlete after beating the British champion, Ron Clarke, in the 10,000 meters race. In 1967, to tap talent amongst young Kenyans, John Velzian and Aish Janebi started the National Schools and Colleges Athletics Championships. The championships involved primary and secondary school as well as college competitions that were supported by game masters from several schools, including Tumutumu, Alliance, Kagumo, Bishop Otunga and St. Patrick Iten. Indeed, it was from the Schools and Colleges Championships that new names in Kenyan athletics, Robert Ouko, Paul Mose, Julius Sang, Mike Boit, and Amos Biwott came into prominence. KAAA, with Charles Mukora as head coach, put together a team for the Mexico Olympics in 1968 that made a great international impression. In those games, Kenya came second to the United States in athletics. It was in Mexico that Kenya won its first Olympic gold medal, when Naftali Temu beat the favorites Mamo Wolde of Ethiopia and Mohamed Gamoudi of Tunisia in the 10,000 meter race. In the 1500 meters, Kipchoge Keino beat the favorite, American Jim Ryan, to clinch the gold.
I was aiming to come home with a 3 medal, but unfortunately I came with 2. The reason I didn't know that I was sick. I was told by the doctor, Dr. Angawa, not to run, and the doctor from Germany said not to run. So I says, I must to me, I had told two coaches, Charles Mukora and John Belton, don't remove my name after qualifying the semi-final. I said, I want to run this event. They say no. Later on, Bill Martin came in and doctor came and see me and said, all right, sleep, and we wish you all the best. When they left, I also left and joined a bus. Suddenly the bus was not moving, the traffic was heavy. So I jumped out of the bus and ran. Reaching the warming up stadium, they were calling fast caller for 1500 meters. I jumped out of the event and go and register and start do a bit of warm up, because I did run from the bus to the stadium. So exercise, I rest. Second call up, the last call up we went in, and we had, in the same event, we were very good athletes. There were two German and the American Jim Ram. So I told them, all the best, gentlemen. But the event started. There, I was the last person. Then suddenly, I said, this event I must win. So I move and open, and 2 laps to go, I open a cup. They realize that when they realize the last lap, this man has gone, they try to close up. I was 30 meters ahead. So they tried to close up in 200, but I had opened a cup and I was ready to go. They only closed, and I won by 20 meters ahead of those people. And this is the most memorable event for my life.
A student, Amos Biwott, won gold in the 3,000 meters steeplechase, beginning a winning trend that would be Kenya's hallmark in all Olympic steeplechase competitions the country has taken part in. 1968 was also the year that Bartonjo Rotich succeeded Musembi Mbathi as chairman of KAAA. Under Rotich, Kenyan athletes would have one of their best performances at Commonwealth Games. In 1970, at Edinburgh, Scotland, Kenya won 5 gold medals. Kipchoge Keino in the 1500 meters, Charles Asati in the 400 meters, Robert Oko in the 800 meters, Benjamin Jipcho in the 3000 meter steeplechase, and Hezekiah Nyamao, Robert Oko, Julius Sang, and Charles Asati in the 4x400 meters relay. It was the first time that Kenyan athletes had won gold in the shorter 400 and 800 meter distances. 2 years later, in 1972, at the Munich Olympics, Kenya would come away with 2 gold medals, one by Kipchoge Keino in the 3,000 meter steeplechase and the other in the 4x400 meters relay by the same team that won gold at the Edinburgh Commonwealth Games. KAAA officials at the Munich Olympics were William B. Martin as chef de mission, Bartonjo Rotich as team manager, and Charles Mukora as head coach. That year, Mukora replaced Rotich as KAAA chairman even as he served as the chairman of the National Sports Council. Mukora was a former athlete and national athletics coach for the Kenya Olympic team in Mexico in 1968 and Munich in 1972. He later served as a member of the International Olympic Committee and the Council of the IAAF, as well as being vice president of the Commonwealth Games Federation, the only Kenyan sports official to serve in so many roles. Towards the end of Mukora's 4-year stewardship, Kenya had another great performance at the Commonwealth Games in Christchurch, New Zealand, winning 5 gold medals, 2 silvers and 7 bronze medals, among them one by Sabina Chebichi in the women's 800 meters race. Chebichi thereby became the first Kenyan woman to win a medal at an international athletics meeting. Charles Mukora was replaced by Professor Samuel Ongeri as KAAA chairman in 1976. Ongeri would not have the pleasure of sending a Kenyan team to the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal, Canada, For Kenya was among a number of African nations that chose to boycott the Games in protest against New Zealand sending her rugby team on a tour of apartheid South Africa.
I was personally in Montreal Olympics as assistant team